Ia Male Ave.
What's up, everybody? This is Jacob Warren asking you to like, subscribe, and share. Dave needs this.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
The Dave Hooker Show. A presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Objective insight, expertise, top guests. Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free. Also available on offthehooksports.com.
I compute and obey.
Now to Dave Hooker.
Ready.
Folks, let's go ahead and set a record right now. The most concurrent listeners on the program, the most viewed program on offthehooksports.com. And why? Because you have reason to get incredibly excited. I'm not going to say I told you so, and I'm not going to tell you how great Nico is going to be next year. But I'm going to tell you that you're in very, very good hands for the next 2, possibly 3 seasons after what we've seen about transfer portals and about the fact that you could see NIL money make up for some NFL dollars. Maybe you're looking at 3 years as Nico's a starter. I don't know. But for the next 2 years, you're going to be in good shape. Let's talk about the game. Caleb Calhoun, how are you, sir? Happy New Year.
Pretty good. Thanks, Dave. Happy New Year to you, too. Did you party last night?
I didn't party. I'm not the partying guy anymore for the most part, but even when I did party, I never went out on like July the 4th on the lake, or I never went out on January 1st because it's amateur night. People that don't usually drink it and then get you in trouble. All right, but that's another story for another day. We're going to bring Spencer Riley in here. First, Caleb, let me get your thoughts on, first of all, what Nico was able to do in his first start. Hit that like and subscribe button. And second of all, let me get your thoughts on Tennessee in general pretty quickly. Thumbnail sketch so I can get to Spencer, and then we'll hash this all around, and we'll keep an eye on the message board for sure.
I thought Nico was incredible, and had he had any help from his receivers or his pass protection, he would have been even more incredible. That's the short end of Nico. We'll get into that. The other point is Tennessee was the more physical team against the team whose calling card is being physical. And I like to tell you guys I am a genius. I told you James Pierce would get a strip sack. Did I not? And James Pierce got a strip sack because I know these things, guys. I'm smarter than everybody.
This guy's a genius right here. Spencer Riley joins us. He is one of the best. Are we still young and up and coming, Spencer? Have we passed that? Do we have to be 30?
Old and has been, brother.
Okay, yeah, I'm an old has been radio guy. He's an old has been high school coach who just had a fantastic season at Jeff County. So thanks for making the time. Former Vols Tennessee center, won a national championship, so he knows what it takes to do so. The first question I want to ask you is just so ambiguous. There's not a stat for it, but just your thoughts on how you saw Nico run the game, his game presence, because that to me stood out more than anyone throw, anyone run. What did you think?
Well, I thought he managed the game well. I mean, he took some sacks when he didn't need to. You know what I mean? You need to throw the football away. That's just being a young quarterback and not understanding how fast the game is at times, right? And just getting rid of the football and being smart about decision making. So, I mean, I thought he did a fine job. I mean, I'll sit here and be honest with you. He exceeded my expectations of what he would do today. I'll just be 100% honest with you. I didn't know if he was ready for it, the prime time, and you know what I mean. He still got a long road to develop in the weight room and being stronger on the field for sure.
Yep, fair point, Caleb.
Spencer, you had to be proud though, because we had talked and questioned the physicality of this Tennessee team all year. And I want to know what you thought. I called out their pass blocking. There's some other things I'm going to call out, but it did seem like just in the trenches, in the line of scrimmage for the most part, when it came to running the football, Tennessee's line was better on both sides against a team whose calling card is being physical up front. Is that what you saw?
I mean, I think so. I think they were more physical at times. You know what I mean? At some point in time when you in Iowa, they can't do anything offensively. I mean, they're inept. I mean, they're absolutely atrocious, and I don't think the defense was as good as everybody says it is for Iowa. I mean, just to be honest with you, two totally different type of leagues, and at the end of the day, Tennessee was more physical. I still don't think they're as physical as everybody in the SEC by no means, but they were the most physical team today on the field for sure.
Spencer, one of the things that you were the very first to bring up is either you or Fred after the very first game. There were a couple of drops in there. And I said I thought that from talking to an NFL scout that Joe Milton threw a heavy ball, oftentimes not on target, not a catchable ball, and that was part of the reason. You said, and so did Fred, if it hits you in the hands, you should catch it. So I kind of took a step back a little bit. You had some drops today. That's something that's got to be addressed, correct?
You better find some wide receivers in the transfer portal. You better pony up the money and get it done. If you want him to, you got a quarterback. Everybody thinks he's going to be the quarterback. What he did today, he shows glimpses that he can be the guy, but you better get some tools to go with him for sure.
Yeah, Spencer. I was on the Joe throws it too hard for a while, but then I saw Ramel Keaton drop just a perfect dime over the middle today. That was just.
I mean, I agree. I mean, our receivers, they're not bad. They're not bad football players, man. They're very good football players, but to play at the level that we want to play at in the SEC and win national and compete for national titles and the SEC titles, you got to have guys. You got to have dudes that catch everything, and we don't. And we need some more of those guys.
It'll be interesting to see if some of those guys can come along. But as far as the physicality, as far as what he brings to the table, not just catching the football, to me, it's Brew McCoy as we wait that.
Yeah.
And he's the guy they need back.
100% they do. You know what I mean? He's the guy who can build that room and take it back to wide receiver for sure.
Wow. So, okay. What you just said right there is why I like talking to players and former players. So what you were saying right there is that he could provide the leadership to raise the whole level of the room. That was an interesting insight, I thought there, Spence.
Yeah, man. I mean, you got to have somebody to hold everybody in check and demand greatness and demand you to do the right things all the time. And I think he's the guy that can do that.
Yeah, interesting. Jump in there, Caleb.
Yeah, so Spencer, I want to talk a little bit about some issues in pass pro today because I know Nico took some sacks, but I also saw Dylan Sampson, a running back that we've all been asking why he's not on the field more. I think we saw why he's not on the field more. Yep, he cannot block anything. Well, I don't know if he can't or he chooses not to. Let's just be honest with you. If you choose not to and can't, it's kind of the same thing to me. Either you block and you get touches, or you don't block and you sit on the bench. He's very fortunate he's very fortunate they didn't have anybody else to put in the ballgame today, or he would have found his butt on the sidelines if it had been me on that sideline.
I think, we're all looking at the guy, and he is such a talented runner, Spencer. And you mentioned that before. He can't or he doesn't want to. 99 times out of 100 with a running back, it's that they don't want to, isn't it? Well, I mean, you would think so, but Jamal Lewis, his freshman year, he was not very good in pass protection early in his career, early in the year. He had to take some time, and we took some lumps with that, but he got better, and we spent time on that, with him, and that's why he got better and was able to play more and more, being a more every down back. So let me ask you this: you think it's something that he's also a little slight? Do you think he can do it? Does that matter at all? No. My wife's trying to turn on the radio in here, and I'm like, "Don't be doing this." So, no, that would be. I think that would not be an FCC, right? I think that would be an FCC violation. Yeah, no doubt. Sorry, I apologize. We'll run Josh Heupel's interview right here. Yeah. So that's what you. I'm like, I'm not doing this right now. Give a first cease and desist order from the Vol Network. Go ahead. Sorry, my fault, guys. I apologize. But I mean, he's got to be better at blocking 100%. I agree with you, Caleb. And at the end of the day, yes, we had some flaws up front, but when they showed double A gap pressure and the center would slide in one direction, they're trying to bait us up front, which, hey,
we have to protect what we see up front, and Mays does a good job sliding over there, and then his guy bails, and he tries to go back and help the running back because he knows he's not a very good pass protector right there. And I thought we did some good things. I thought our tackles played soft at times on pass pro, give up a weak hip, and allowed the edge rush to give us problems at times. Because I think we give up like 5 or 6 sacks today.
Yeah, it was 6.
So based purely off what you saw today, not necessarily the whole season, but what you saw today, which can be misleading because it's a bowl game, it's an exhibition. But receiver drops would be one, pass protection, maybe Nico getting rid of the ball sooner. What are some other things across the board that you would say Tennessee needs to be a lot better in September than they are right now in January at these aspects of the game?
2 spots. I texted my staff earlier today. Got to be 100% better as defensive backs, and got to be 100% better in offensive line.
Okay,
you got to be. You know what I mean? And I'm very critical of offensive line play. I'm very critical of defensive back plays. If you can't play there in those 2 positions, they'll get you beat faster than any position on the field.
Very good point. Caleb, feel free to jump in there.
Yeah, so Spencer, it's funny, defensive back play. Now, we're going to all take this with a grain of salt because it was against Iowa, the worst passing offense in college football this year. However, even by that, yeah, even by the bad passing offense standards of Iowa, Tennessee's secondary with all these opt-outs and transfers looked better in this game. And I know Iowa's bad. However, they do average 123 yards passing, guys, and they only threw for 54 in this game. So doesn't that say something about Tennessee's secondary?
I mean, I thought the young cats were better. You know, that was one of the things that I wanted to see today was, hey, how did they do? And I thought they did a good job. You know, they didn't let him get back. They didn't give up a cheapie today. And, you know what I mean? I thought they did a good job breaking on the ball. I thought we broke up some balls that we haven't done all year today.
Yep. I'm going to go to the message board and throw a couple of questions at you. One about the defensive backs, Spencer, and one that was Ricky Gibson. Did you get a chance to see him much? I mean, he was highly ballyhooed coming out of high school, but barely played at all. And did you get to see him at cornerback very much at all?
Me?
Yes.
No. Okay. I mean, it's hard to tell. I mean, for me, I don't study Tennessee like you guys do. I don't watch it. I don't know whose numbers is who. I'm just be honest with you. I'm just like, hey, that guy's either really good or he's really bad. I'm not for sure which one he is, but you know what I mean? I thought both corners were fine today. I thought they both played really well, and did their job and made some plays on some pretty tightly thrown balls.
Well, let me ask you about a guy that I know you know, because you and Fred agreed that he reminded you of, I was stunned when you both said this, of Leonard Little. But James Pierce is a pretty good football player.
He is. I was texting with my two our news writers that cover us, and we were talking, and he made, hey, this dude's like Leonard Little. I said, whoa, let's just hold on a second. Now he's like Leonard Little, but he is not a Leonard Little. Let's put it that way, because I don't think he can take over a ball game like Leonard Little did and has. This cat's going to be special, though. I mean, this year I thought he took some big steps from week 1 to now, and super excited to see him gain some weight and be a little bit more physical and have the speed game with a power game, and it's going to make him definitely a special pass rusher.
Pretty good player. Spencer, you said earlier that you thought Nico maybe was a little bit better than you thought he would be, lived up to the lights and lived up to the spotlight. What else do you take away from this game feeling optimistic about Tennessee heading into the offseason? There's so many opt-outs and stuff. It's tough to really get a feel nowadays for a football team from a bowl game, unlike when you guys played. But what do you walk away from after a dominating victory that Tennessee had in the Citrus Bowl and say, man, I feel really good about that?
Well, I'll say this. We had more opt-outs in Iowa. Am I correct on that statement?
Yes.
Okay.
Significantly more.
So, I mean, we go out there and beat them with not our best ball club as handily as we did. You know, it means our depth's improving. It means our talent level has risen throughout the last couple of years. Last 2 years with Josh being there and recruiting. But I do believe those two things told me a lot more about what's going on at Tennessee now and what has been going on.
I think that's well said. Spencer, we appreciate it, buddy. Hope you had a Merry Christmas. Have a Happy New Year. And let's win a state title for Jeff County. And
let's do it, man. Happy New Year to you guys. It's great seeing you. I hope you all have a Merry Christmas. Hey, happy New Year to everyone that's listening to and watching. Y'all be good. Did you get your
book for Christmas yet?
I'm sorry?
Did you get your book for Christmas yet?
No, I have not got my book.
I'm working on that.
So, and you ain't got your shirt yet either. So I'm working on that.
That's fine. Fair enough. Thank you.
So
it's like they're in hostage.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
There's a shirt begging for a Brittany Griner like trade to Dave so that the book can be gotten. I think it's too easy to say because this is where our message board is going. And Shane's saying you guys are picking Tennessee apart. They put 35 points on the number 4 defense. I agree with that. I think
that was not the number 4 defense, guys. Okay, let's just get that out there.
I don't think it's time to pick Tennessee apart. I think they played incredibly well. Don't you?
Oh, I agree. I've been touting them the whole well.
Yeah, they did put 35 points on a college defense that ranks fairly highly. Let's put it that way.
And the two biggest issues I mentioned. Oh, sorry, I didn't know you wanted to.
Well, I was just gonna say this. So I don't want to get in this zone we're picking apart because we're not. I mean, that's one you should celebrate and enjoy. And to be honest, when I heard Citrus Bowl first, I thought this would want to be one of those dud bowl games where you played an awesome bowl game the year before and good things are coming the next year, so you just lay an egg. I thought that Tennessee would do that when it was first announced. I since changed my mind. But anyway, getting back to the point, if the receivers are the weak link, as someone said on the message board, then good Lord, you're all right. Because the receivers have never been horrible. The receivers have been average because of injury. But if we're talking about receivers over defensive backs next year, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, if receivers are the weak link, you are in great shape because one, these aren't going to be the receivers next year. You're going to have, you already talked about Brew McCoy. Chris Braswell has committed to Tennessee. Squirrel White wasn't able to get a lot of touches because the wideouts weren't that effective on the outside today. But you have Chris Braswell committed. You have Mike Matthews coming in. You have Braylon Staley coming in. I don't think you have to worry about receiver. And the other issue was offensive line because, again, sorry, I don't like to call him out. It was his last game. But Ollie Lane getting a holding penalty on the very first drive when you saw that, Dave, at left guard, where he just got wrecked. And Dane Davis was really bad at right tackle. But at the same time, it was their last game. And you expect
let's remember this too. We are only how many seasons removed? 3 from a massive overhaul. If I were to tell you in the bowl game 3 years from now that after this massive roster overhaul, you're going to have some issues on the depth of your offensive line, you'd probably take that, wouldn't you?
You would. And here's what I would really take. Here's why you guys should really believe in Nico. He's starting as a true freshman behind 3 offensive linemen that were starting that were not SEC caliber linemen. Can we just say that, Dave, in this game that won't be there next year? And they were going against an Iowa defense. So you tell me what I think. Iowa is bad across the board in a lot of ways, but their front seven is actually pretty solid. So this should have been the type of game that gave Tennessee a lot of trouble, and they still overcame it, and Nico overcame it, and they won 35-0. I think largely, I wanted to point this out. Did you notice how patient Nico was? Iowa stayed in soft zone coverage the whole time. He never tried to hit a home run that he shouldn't have tried to hit, right?
No. Now, the Big Wrap brought to you by our friends at Harrell Group Security Solutions. Man, they're fantastic. Leadership, experience, specialization, addressing problems through unique mission-specific mitigation techniques, making your children safer one school at a time. They deal with schools, private right now, not public yet. So push to get that done. Tell your school administrator you got to go to Harrell GRP. You can also contact them about your work safety at your workplace. That is important. We've seen the tragedies happen. Harrell Group Security Solutions, highly trained individuals that can take care of you. So everybody's going to talk about offense. Everybody's going to talk about Nico, and rightly so. It was, I thought, very efficient, except for the sacks. I want to offer this on a play that technically didn't happen. I thought Nico's most impressive play, and the play that I thought most embodied him when I told you all football season, hit the like button. You're right, Papa J. Hit the like button. Smash, subscribe, do that. When I told you all during the offseason, listen, he's better than you think. The play he made was about a 14-yard scramble on the first drive that was called back because of a penalty. That was
Ollie Lane hold. You can call him.
Yeah, that was a left. I thought they called on Cooper. I don't know, but anyway, it was a left read. It was a mid left read. It was a middle read. It was I'm going to run. For 4, I mean, he had to make 4 calls there. That was simple, and he did it. And he did the best thing with the ball.
You know, it's funny. I wanted to bring this up with you. His decisiveness was very, very evident in this game. He did not hesitate on what he wanted to do. And look, you talk about this all the time. You either have that instinctually or you don't. And I mean, sometimes you can be badly decisive if you're not a good decision maker where you make the wrong decisions. But most of the time he was not. And Nico took a lot of hits in this game, but I do want, and I told you that was concerning because he's still, I don't think, at the weight he wants to be at. I think he needs another all season to get to feel fully safe with him running as much as he wants to. But I will say this, guys, Nico's not going to run that much next year. If you watch the way Iowa played, Dave, you saw how they schemed their 4-2-5 defense. It called for more quarterback runs, didn't it? Than a typical defense does.
Yeah, and I want to say something about his size real quick before I forget. The guy's a legit 6'6". I've stood next to Jacob Warren, and he's a legit 6'6". People say that people that are 6'4" are 6'5". They're not a lot of times. They're 6'3". He's a legit 6'6". He also wears those smaller shoulder pads a lot of quarterbacks are wearing now. I don't think he's as skinny as he looks. He doesn't look like Bryce Young in the NFL out there running around to me. He looks like a big guy who's in college who needs to put on weight. He doesn't look like he's anemic.
No. The only reason I said that with him is because of all the hits he was taking in today's game. A quarterback of his size can't get hit that much throughout a season. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say. And also it leads into what Travis said, and it's taking those sacks is an issue. I agree.
I don't think he took, people keep saying that. I don't think he took any. I don't think it's his fault, any of them. You could tell me. I think every one of those was on the line or Dylan Sampson.
I'd like to go back and look at them. If it's on Dylan Sampson, then it's really tough on a quarterback because you're expecting that running back to be your last guy. So a lot of times it's blindside. You don't know it's coming. There was one where he tucked and got sacked that I thought he clearly should have thrown away. I'll go back and look at the 6 sacks, but
better to tuck than to chunk it or fumble, though, isn't it? I mean,
yeah. I mean,
and remember not to call him out too much, but do you remember that screen that was set up that Nico couldn't even get the ball off because they were, even though it was a screen, you still need like a second to be able to throw it, right? And Nico didn't even have that. And guys, go back and watch. That was all because the screen was to Dylan Sampson, and it would have gone for a touchdown. But Dylan Sampson forgot the key part of a middle screen, which is the running back. You're supposed to lay a block and then break, aren't you?
Yeah.
And Dylan Sampson forgot to block before hitting the break. That's why he hasn't been starting all year. We need to, Dave, you owe Josh Heupel an apology for attacking him for not putting Dylan Sampson in. We're seeing why he never put Dylan Sampson in all year.
Okay, I didn't attack. I never said Dylan Sampson should start. I like the role he was in. Mead Drinker said this was the same plays we ran the joke. No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
It just wasn't. It was crosses across the middle. It was stuff that they were afraid to throw with Joe because he was so inaccurate with the passes over the middle. It's not the repeated screen plays over and over and over. They tried for a shot down the field that I believe was it Caleb Webb who lost the ball in the sun.
It was Ramel Keaton, and it would have been a touchdown had Ramel Keaton kept running.
And I've been in that stadium at that same time, and the sun does come in weird. So I immediately knew what happened. The announcers are guessing. The sun comes in weird. I've seen that happen before. I think it happened in the Michigan game, but nobody remembers because it was a blowout. Nobody will remember this one because it's a blowout. That was not the same offense called. I didn't think at all.
Not at all. Not even close. And guys, for those who don't know how Iowa plays, again, they play so soft in their secondary. It's hard to hit home runs against them. It really is. Michigan had 213 yards of total offense against them. So for Tennessee to have 382 total yards is really, really good, even though, again, I think Iowa's defense, you and I both agree, it's massively overrated. But what they do is they shorten the clock and they try to force you to get impatient. And Tennessee never got impatient in this game. And that's a really, really big deal going forward. Look, can I, is this enough? Can I start my Nico for Heisman talk, Dave? Can I go ahead and do it?
You can. Can I say one thing, though, about What was the point you just made? You're just talking about
Tennessee's patience and Iowa's defense.
Okay, I agree that Iowa's defense is not the 85 Bears. Okay, but this is a defense that in a major conference ranked pretty high. So I think you're dismissing. No. I'm not going all the way down this path, but I'm going some ways down it. I think you're discounting that this was a very solid defense that Tennessee was able to move the ball on with a freshman first-time starting quarterback. I think
that's what I gave them credit for. What Iowa's defense is very solid at, again, they have a very solid front seven. You notice that. Their front seven actually is pretty solid. They run really good stunts and pressure packages. Wasn't it Joe Higgins, the guy who had all the sacks today on different pressure packages that they called?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's solid. What they do with their 4-2-5 is they run the pressure packages, and then they play extremely soft in the back end. And what they bank on is that if you have to methodically move the ball down the field on them, you'll eventually get impatient. It's the John Chavis, Steve Spurrier philosophy, which is Spurrier will eventually get impatient and try to force something because he's so desperate to hit the home run. What stood out to me is not a true freshman in Nico. Isn't a true freshman the most vulnerable to get impatient, Dave, for a home run? And he never got impatient in the game at all.
No, you're right. He was solid. I know I'd rather have Evan Stewart in the slot than Squirrel White. Let's ease up there.
Squirrel.
I don't know. Let's wait. I don't
Hunter,
think
your take on Squirrel. I want to say you're nuts.
That's good. We started the show saying let's not make this sound like a Joe Milton bashing contest, but I don't know how to judge any of these receivers given the play they had at quarterback this year. Sorry. I'm not 100% sure. I'm just being real honest with you. I could get on here and say, these receivers need an upgrade. Click on this and all that stuff. I don't know. I think they're slightly above average. I think they're a B.
Dave, it's unfair.
You notice they got Mike Matthews in there?
You're unfair for a couple of reasons. One, you're going from Joe to Nico. I think, and I keep saying Nico's generationally amazing. It's not like you're going to an average quarterback. You're going to a guy who is the greatest fit ever for Josh Heupel's system. And you're also, we saw some of the issues that Joe was dealing with all year. Nico was dealing with them in this game. Drops, missed blocks. And
that's fair. That is fair. I don't think you'll have the missed blocks because this line will be more put together than this one, right? With the returning guys. And
there were just issues this year.
And the receivers, I will tell you that I have no good feel for going into the offseason. I have a good feel for the offensive line. I think they'll be a team strength this fall by the time they get everybody healthy. But I don't have a feel for the receivers. Do you?
No, I don't have a feel for the receivers at all. And there's no way to know. But I feel like
Webb could be an All-American next year.
Yeah, exactly. And it shouldn't be.
What happened to Jalen Hyde? He was a nobody, and then suddenly he won the Blitnikoff Award.
I mean, look, this is where if you're going to criticize Josh Heupel, we have called him out on talent evaluation. All of these receivers now are his receivers. His receivers that he's wanted haven't really done much yet, except for Brew McCoy. But Brew McCoy still didn't do near what Cedric Tillman or Jalen Hyatt did. And
okay, I want to play a little fun game. Be sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Be sure you've done that. So everybody that's on board, I want to play a fun game. And this is going to be, what is the narrative, but you can't mention Nico. The narrative of this story. So you see your buddy January 1st, his wife makes him go look at Christmas decorations or something before they come down. And you don't know anything. He doesn't know anything about the game. So he's like, what happened in the game yesterday? You provide me a narrative that doesn't include Nico. Okay. But you can't say Nico. So that's what I'm curious if you can fill that out. Caleb, you give it a thought. I want to remind people, Hemp House chat with 2Ts.com, Hemp House chat with 2Ts.com. They bring you a portion of the program, and they're the best when it comes to their online dispensary. You know it's safe, you know it's good, and you can order right there. Hemp House chat with 2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOK for 10% off. Use the promo code HOOK, 10% off. HOOK, 10% off. All right, so what is it? What's the narrative without Nico? We've got John Lee said defense dominated. Hunter said James Pierce is a future first rounder and wide receivers are still a concern for next year. All right. A little long for a headline, but
I mean, but funny enough, it's funny because I think Nico was named the bowl games MVP. James Pierce should have been the bowl games MVP. I'm sorry, guys. James Pierce had a strip sack and a pick six. He should have been the bowl games MVP. It's the defense, and here's the crucial point.
I give it to the quarterback.
Yeah, that's just you're such a girl fan. No, it's
They run the ball more, and I mean, he did.
And also, by the way, Dylan Sampson, I'm trashing him, but you got to give even on offense, he might still be the MVP. He had over 133 yards rushing.
Okay, now Ted got me into what I was going to get into. Offense took what was given. Great D. How good can this defense be next year?
I think everybody worried about the secondary departures. That was Heupel trimming the fat. That's all that was. He was trimming the dead wood.
Beginning to wonder that myself.
Yeah, I thought that when I saw the massive opt-outs towards the end. Heupel was trimming the dead wood, and the only player. And here's the great thing about this, Dave. You know, you talked about how now with the transfer portal, coaches sometimes feel like they have to nudge players into the transfer portal. I don't think Heupel had to do that. You know, all he had to do is go to the Spire Sports Collective and just say, don't offer these guys any NIL money. And that's a backhanded way for them to hit the portal, pretty much. And that's exactly what happened.
You could definitely do that. That'd be dirty pull. But I do know Spire has pulled money from guys who haven't lived up to their monthly obligations. So it wouldn't be, that's for a different reason, but it wouldn't be outside of the realm of possibility. That'd be pretty dirty pull, though, to call the Spire group, say, hey, pull this kid's money, but we're not going to tell him he doesn't have a scholarship.
No, don't pull the kid's money. It's just, if they're looking for where to spend, just say, don't spend it here. It's a waste of your time. And I think that was a backhanded way of him getting them out into the transfer portal, because I've said, look, the only player that left on defense that wasn't deadwood was Tyler Barron, but Tennessee's so loaded at edge rusher going forward. I don't think that's an issue.
Can't get into it, but the more I hear about it, there was a lot of issues there, Tyler. They're going back and forth. What am I worth? This sort of thing. So,
I think finally just were like, forget it.
Yeah, I think you'd love for him to be there, but is it worth it? All right, there we go, guys. That is your 2023-24 season, and what a 2024 year it should be. Happy New Year's to you and yours. We thank the Hemp House. We thank Harrell Group Security Solutions for making this a part of Off the Hook Sports. Hit that like and subscribe button, turn notifications on, and we'll be with you tomorrow, as we are each and every weekday at 10 a.m. For Caleb Calhoun, I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.